Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with more HBCU discussions. And you can't bring up the HBCU without, first of all, let me shout out to the whole Divine Nine, most importantly, Phi Beta Sigma and Zeta Phi Beta. You know what it is, baby. I wouldn't take my shirt off, but I said I was going to keep my composure this time. But you know the tattoos all over my chest, baby. Phi Beta Sigma. Represent. You know what it is. Anyway, you can't bring up HBCUs without bringing up the biggest thing in HBCUs right now. Deion Primetime Sanders is now the head coach of Jackson State University.
Yeah.
Now, I had my own original thoughts about this, and then I talked to my uncle, Aaron Charles Weeks. He gave me some insight to this, and I didn't even think of it, and it's honestly the most genius thing that you could possibly do. My grandmother used to tell us, if they won't let you in the front door, go through the back. It's well documented that Deion Sanders has wanted to be a head coach at Florida State for a while. Now, Deion don't want to do what most guys have to do, which is be a position coach for 3-4 years, be a coordinator for 3-4 years. No, Deion went through the back door. Well, listen, I'm going to go ahead and take this HBCU job, turn the program around real quick, because like I told Walt 1,000 times, if you're a cornerback, why you don't want to go play for Deion? Of all the coaches in the country, the GOAT wants to teach you how to play defensive back. You ain't gonna go?
Going.
So take the back door. He's gonna take JSU, go there for a couple years, and he's gonna get some big time guys because it's Deion. And he's gonna probably turn that program around. And then guess what? Florida State probably still won't be doing that damn good. What's going to happen? Whose door are they going to knock on then? And I guarantee you that amount has now went up once he turns that Jackson State program around. So I'm going to open it to the floor. Like, that's my little 2 cents on it. But what y'all think? Like, Deion at Jackson State University, like, how does this go? How does this happen? I got my own other stuff I want to add to it, but I'll open it up.
It's up to you, Unc. I've got a shit ton to say about this, but I can definitely wait because I've talked about it a little bit before.
Well, I mean, you know, man, I've been wishing that something like this would happen since the early 80s, man. And to see it happen for me, having gone to FAMU, is like a dream come true, man. Because all it's going to do is, so the young, like between shows, we mentioned how a couple of young bucks have committed to HBCUs coming up this year in basketball. And then, you know, so that's starting to bubble up. But you get a dude like Deion Sanders. Now Ocho Cinco talking about he wants to be somebody's coach. And you got all these names just popping up, all these ex-football players, NFL players, you know, that are starting to really look at it like, you know what, that's genius, right? And the thing is, you're going to get professional level coaching and training. And that's been one of the biggest differences, I think, from the HBCUs to the bigger universities. Like, Deion can call up somebody that was a pro and just come on down for a week and show my guys how they should do X, Y, and Z. Guys will come down, show them what to do. So I just think, man, this is the beginning of something I think is going to be fantastic for HBCUs in general.
Yeah. I think I'm going to end up reiterating things I said on the past show, but it needs to be spoken because we've got a bigger window for it. Number one, shame on you, Florida State. Shame on you. This is ridiculous to me. And it's showing. Once you let go of Jimbo did a good job. He won a title. There's only a couple guys that have won titles in the history of Florida State, and Jimbo's one of those couple of guys. Because the other guy's Bobby Bowden.
Saint Bobby.
That's it. So Jimbo was there for them titles too. So that's good, you know, from there. But when you have an opportunity where you have been losing the recruiting battle in the state of Florida, they have been losing not only to Florida in the last few years, but
Miami.
you're losing to schools that are not even in your state. And Unc can speak to this because he was there in the 80s and understood what was happening. And Chris, you can speak to it more than anybody because you went to Florida State. When these schools were great, and this is usually any school when it comes to college football, you win your state. If you win your state, that usually means you're going to have a great season. And that's what Miami used to do in the 80s. That's what Florida State did in the 90s. And then Florida would take it here and there a little bit. They would get the best players, and they stole it. That was the Howard Schellenberger, Jimmy Johnson move, what they did in the 70s and the 80s. They said, like, why do we keep trying to get the kid from California? The best football players in the country live in this state. We just need to get 8 of them to come here and then tell they boys about how much fun I am as a coach and how hard I work them. And that's it. So we both you guys brought up the impact of the Deion Sanders and just who he is. And I'm going to talk to it in this realm of, I think, today's kid as a recruit. Number one, I see Deion Sanders on TV every day.
Yep.
Right.
He's a personality, okay? This guy's he does voiceovers for Subway now. Like, do we understand, like, where he's at?
Prime time.
Okay, like, on top of the fact, he's got a platinum record. He's one of the flyest dudes.
I didn't know that, nephew.
Go look it up. Must Be the Money went platinum in the 90s. He went platinum.
Oh my God, he did.
You can't take that away from him. Like, the dude actually has a platinum record. I mean, I haven't heard nothing but Must Be the Money. I don't know how good it is. I didn't buy it when I was 10.
It's not.
You know what I'm saying? I was buying Stilo I Wish albums when I was that age, man. I wasn't on Must Be the Money. I don't know what Deion was talking about. Like, I'm 10 years old.
Must be the money that's turning you on.
I know for a fact that song went platinum. Okay? So you have that. And then just on top of the fact, this is the thing about him going through the back door, Chris. That's not technically true because he was coaching high school football. He was a head coach. So it's not like he's just like, I'm going to go right from the booth and go coach. No, he's gone and put in the time. He's been with the kids. He's done the 7-on-7s. He's been in the elite camps. He has put in his time. And I'm looking at Florida State like people will watch Florida State to watch Deion Sanders coach.
Mm-hmm.
Because you mic him up, you know you're going to get great sound bites. This dude, he's been a performer his whole life. And then on top of that, you guys both touched on it, and I'll repeat it. What kid doesn't want to go learn from one of the greatest to ever play a position in the entire game of football? He's the greatest corner to ever play, which means he's happened to go against some of the greatest ever played. And then look at the guys he's bringing in. Hall of Famer on the D-line. Hall of Famer as a receivers coach. You don't know. Him and Peyton Manning are tight. Who's to say Peyton Manning doesn't? Like, Unc, you brought it up. Who's to say Peyton Manning's a drop-in for a week? Maybe it's like some sort of rotating quarterback coach that he does. He brings in somebody else that can bring them knowledge. You know, things like that. And his exposure and what he does. And Chris, you've hit it on the head. It's going to take one kid. And let us not forget, so I can get you back in here, Chris. This is the school of the greatest football player to ever live. And I don't think that gives enough credit to them. Walter Payton did go to this school. So this school has fallen a long way. And I think Deion Sanders picked, if he was going to do it, to have the legend of Walter Payton be behind him and to build this thing and get to wherever his finishing is. And I'm pretty sure for him it's the coach's alma mater. Because I know how much Bobby Bowden means to him and how much, you know, it's vice versa. Their relationship is crazy, you know, in a sense. Like Bobby Bowden talks about Deion. He doesn't talk about anybody else the way he talks about Deion Sanders and what he did for him in the 80s. Like Deion Sanders made kids want to go to Florida State, and that's when they won the titles in the 90s. So that's the way I look at it. There's a lot of good things to this. And here's Deion who's going to be picking up all these kids from Mississippi and Louisiana and Texas and Alabama, these 3-4-star kids that can't get on these Big Tens.
Let me cut you off.
They're going to go right there and play for him.
Let me cut you off.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me cut you off because Unc hit me with a good point too. And I'll wrap it up, and now, Uncle, I'll give you a chance to come in too. So you got to think, the universities in Florida have dipped over the last like 2 or 3 years. Florida's back on the rise. Miami's supposedly back. Florida State's still trash. Here's what happened. And I want to say it happened around my last year in high school, like 2002, between 2002 and 2004, around that time. The in-school states stop recruiting their state. They start looking outward more so than looking inward. So with Miami, when Miami was dead, they stopped going to Miami Northwestern. They stopped going to Jackson. They stopped going to all these schools that were in their backyard. The University of Miami didn't even recruit Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, that's what I was going to tell him. Like, he's a Miami boy. He was a 3-star. They didn't even recruit him.
Listen. That's 30 minutes from his house. They didn't even recruit him.
And he get to
so how you said you felt a little disrespected in the interim. What do you think he felt like?
Exactly, and that's the biggest thing. Like, Louisville University has a pipeline in South Florida. Look at Louisville's team. You're going to find at least 30% of those guys are from Florida. And that's been the biggest downfall of Florida as athletics and like sports go up until like they're starting to do it now. But when the Florida schools were dead, they stopped recruiting those schools. And you notice when the big three died, the Florida State, Florida, Miami died, guess who popped up with good ass programs? UCF, USF, FIU, FAU. I'll be the first one to tell you, I'm a Florida boy. I ain't want to leave Florida. My 5 recruiting visits were University of Southern Cal, Florida State University, University of Florida, Michigan State, and then I think I went to Texas Tech, and then I took an unofficial to Georgia. I knew from the time I got them stars next to my name, my black ass wasn't leaving the damn state because I got it tatted on me. I'm Florida to the end. And when those schools stopped recruiting themselves, they died out. Now, guess what? You got a Florida boy as the head coach of Jackson State University. You don't think he about to go back home and talk to all his homeboys who are now head coaches at Belgrades, Miami Jackson, Miami Central, Ed White, Jackson, all these schools that his homeboys now coach at? You don't think he about to – hey, I'll take whatever you got.
Yeah.
And his son's coming, and his son's a stud.
His son's a 4-star athlete.
Kid's a 4-star.
Come on, man. Like,
that's gonna be nice. And now think about this though. Deion was a 2-sport dude.
Yep.
What you think's gonna happen to the Jackson State baseball program?
Exactly.
Now Florida State looking real stupid for not bringing this man on. I mean, imagine what he could do for 2 major sports programs. If he so chose to, he mess around, be president of that school. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that guy. I mean, and it's so many opportunities like that for brothers. And I got to take it back to the basketball. You know, I'm a basketball player. I'm a hooper all the way.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what? If Sam Cassell don't get an NBA job, I'm just saying. You know, I mean, we got so many dudes. Sam Cassell. All these brothers that's trying to bubble up in the NBA. Now, it's a lot of dudes that went to the NCAAs and couldn't make it back up. But, you know, still, there's a lot of guys that can put some work in at some HBCUs, man, that really, you know, raise them up and just be the man on those campuses, just like any student could be.
Yeah.
So,
and I think
that's what I'm saying.
Sammy Cassell, and I know you got a lot of love. That goes back because Sam's a hell of a player, and Sam he's been assistant coach, so I think his time is coming at some point. Hopefully, you hope. You know, I respect the Nets because I mean, if Steve Nash wanted to coach my team, I'd take Steve Nash too. I'm gonna just call it.
Hey, Steve Nash didn't have to go in the back door, did he? Steve Nash walked right in the front door. Did he assistant coach anywhere else?
He helped out at Golden State.
He was in Golden State.
He helped out.
He was on their staff.
Okay.
You know what
Okay.
I mean? So you do see that. I mean, and I agree. Like, not everybody, everybody's looking for the Steve Kerr fix. Like that's what it is in coaching. Everybody's looking for the Steve Kerr fix. Like, okay, if I have a good team, I just bring the right guy that has the right, personality and has the ability to control egos. Which basically brings you back to Popovich, to Phil Jackson, Pat Riley. We can do this with basketball all day. Here's the thing about Deion Sanders. I want to get back to him. I think there's a different level of guy. Like, would we be this excited? Like, he's got guys on his staff that are Hall of Famers that I love.
Yeah.
I love Warren Sapp.
Oh, yeah.
And we've talked about Terrell Owens and his impact and what he is. But neither one of those guys make me go, I want to go play for that guy. Deion Sanders in the black and Joe, but in the world. I know plenty of white kids and Hispanic kids and Samoan kids and whoever race plays. Like, I'm trying to be very much involved in this, that understand who Deion Sanders is. There are only so many players whose highlight reels come up on your Facebook feed. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Deion Sanders will come through. Like, Facebook will be stalking you. Go, you know what? You want to see Deion Sanders Florida State highlights. Or you want to see when Deion Sanders was rated the number 31 player of all time in the history of the game of football.
Right.
Like, this dude, like, this is that level to where you don't understand. It's just like, I don't understand how some of the most brilliant black minds haven't figured out how to make themselves black Harvards with endowments. How could Florida State, one of the former blue bloods of college, they're not a blue blood anymore,
No, not at all.
but they were a blue blood of college football for 15, 20 years, doesn't realize that, well, number one, Deion Sanders is going to put 100,000 people in Doak Campbell because it's Deion Sanders. Imagine Deion Sanders doing the pep rallies and doing, like, what type of stuff he'll have. Deion Sanders had Beyonce showing up.
So check this out,
That's
Walt.
the type of dude Deion Sanders. Like, Jay-Z will show up and do a halftime show because they love Deion Sanders. Like, I just don't get, like, his cross-cultural and pop culture appeal to what he is. He's revered by the world. It's a crazy miss, and they're going to pay, and Jackson State's going to be good.
So check this out. What I just learned from my uncle, like, his whole tenure of coaching is also tied to a reality show. So, like, the whole time he's there, he's filming a show as well. So Deion Sanders essentially was ahead of his time. We already know that. But Deion Sanders' whole style, mentality, his swag speaks more to the athlete today than it did to us. Because to us, I'm a D lineman. He was the reason why I had gloves on. He was the reason why in pregame warm-ups, I had my gloves on, my face mask. I got, like, the tight half shirt on. And, like, I'm backpedaling over there with the DBs, knowing damn well I need to be doing one-on-ones with the O-lineman. Like, Deion was the reason why at the pregame I'm running routes with the receivers, knowing damn well I need to have my hand in the ground. Like, Deion is your favorite athlete's favorite athlete.
Yeah, he's one of them guys. You look good, you feel good, you play good, they pay good.
Because his self-promotion was second to none, and that's including today. And he did it in such a way that it was like he said some arrogant, cocky shit, and you just like, you know what? He got a point. Like, what I need to run the 40 for, you know I'm fast already. Or he ran the 40 in the sweatsuit and still beat everybody.
4.2 in a jogging suit and then walked off. I think that's
like
the greatest story ever.
What I need to do 225 for?
And Florida State didn't want to sign this. Like, let you know. The key to these big schools, this is what makes Alabama what Alabama's become. Begrudgingly, I have to give them credit because I hate Alabama.
Roll Tide.
Mainly because of this dude down here.
Roll Tide.
This dude at the bottom of the screen. Jesus
Roll
Christ.
Tide.
But that's what makes Alabama what they've become now. Look at their pipeline of alum and the guys that they can claim. That's what makes it happen. That's how Miami used to be. Remember how that pipeline was crazy for 20 years?
Yep.
where it meant that much, and it is. And now they're at the point where we even discussed this. This is what you do, and this is how you get Florida back. Because I love Florida football. The world needs our Florida football athletes. It makes our game great. And I'd say it would be a chain reaction. If Florida State would have did that, then Miami would have had no choice but to go make Ed Reed the coach.
Yep.
That's already what I said. Like at some point,
to.
these schools have to realize, these two schools in particular, you have all-time greats that are right in that window. And Ed Reed's been coaching. Belichick, Belichick reveres Ed Reed.
Yep.
Like, I don't get some of these programs. Like, I don't understand it. When you got a Bill Belichick saying Ed Reed was my nightmare for 15 years. He's the best player I've ever had to try to figure out where's Ed. There's videos of Tom Brady going, Ed, Reed, Ed. For, like, they've shown it from, like, and then Ed picking them off. Like, I thought I had him, and here comes Ed. And you've got these two great programs that have not figured out that there is cachet in guys that are actually brilliant football minds.
Homegrown.
And they are revered by young kids. Like, it's time for Florida State and for Miami to do, everybody can't be lucky to get a Saban. You can't be lucky to grab a Dabo at a young age. You need to go take one of these personalities and go run with it. Like,
I mean, man, I don't want to be negative about it, but I know why they ain't picked these brothers up. That's Florida.
Go ahead and say it.
Please.
Hey, man, I mean, I went to school down there, man. Them dudes down there, they not trying to have no black head coach.
Oh, I'm glad you said it. I didn't want to say it first, but I'm glad you. All right, since he said it, I'll go ahead and be. So, the state of Florida is split in half. All right, South Florida is essentially the Caribbean. Let's call it what it is. It's like from Orlando, Tampa, Orlando down. Yeah. That essentially is what Florida is. Okay. That's all the Islanders, your Cubans, your Haitians, or your Jamaicans. Like, because honestly, anybody from Orlando down and that says they're black, they're not really black. All right, that's all. It is what it is. Like, you mix with like 1,000 things, and my family's one of them too. But I'm the rarity. Now, if you in North Florida, then you start seeing more of like those Confederate flags and that good old boy system in North Florida. Yeah. Hence why in South Florida, that's where you get your DBs, your receivers, running backs. If you go to North Florida, you got me, the bigger ones. You got your corn-fed bread, collard green. You got me.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Here's the one monkey wrench I would throw in this for both you guys. Here's the only problem with what you guys both just said. Willie Taggart was just there. We're gonna keep going. He's gonna re-invite us back in. Don't worry about that.
We got cut off.
We keep going on the screen. Don't worry about it. Just keep talking through.
We'll keep going on this.
Yeah. Just turn your volume up for a minute. But here's the thing that like it kind of messes everything up.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right.
Yeah. It's the fact that Willie Taggart was at Florida State.
Here's the thing about Willie Taggart. Think about how long his leash was.
So I understand the leash. I'm bringing to the principle of at least after Jimbo, they did go African American. And I'm not saying it like it's some big win for us, because if Jimbo left, the first guy I would have called would be Deion Sanders. Like
exactly.
The point I'm still making is Deion Sanders should have been the first person you called.
Because I agree.
He's ready.
I fully agree. But the whole thing with Willie Taggart is, and this has nothing to do with Willie Taggart. With Willie Taggart, you can almost kind of predict what's going to happen next, and you might be able to kind of control that narrative a little bit. Compared to Deion, you don't know what this bastard going to say next or what he's going to do. And you can't do nothing about it because it's Deion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
hey, my phone stopped recording. I can't hear y'all through my phone right now.
Yeah. Just turn your computer volume up.
All right.
Yeah,
Is that
it's
gonna,
gonna go
is that
through
making
here.
an echo?
No, you good now.
You good now?
Yeah, we've been talking through here just to finish up with the topic, and we'll get back on the phone for the last one. But don't even trip, Hunk. It happens. That's all Chris. For once, it's Chris Turner's fault. That's his fault.
That's Anchor's fault. It only goes so long.
Anyway, but yeah, like we were saying though, like they have had a black coach recently.
Yeah.
He didn't have a very long leash, but that's the mistake they made. If you gonna make that type of splash, because he probably was. I don't want to know. I don't want to say anything factual that I know this is a fact, but Willie Taggart might have been probably their first African American head coach.
Okay.
So if I'm going to make that splash, why wouldn't I make it with our greatest alum of all time?
True.
And
Very
give
true.
him 5 years. I mean, look, you give him 5 years to rebuild his pipeline. So by the time his seniors are seniors and you're winning the state of Florida, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I give Miami credit. I mean, they got Manny Diaz down there. Manny Diaz ain't white, They kind of realized, well, maybe we need to try this way. And Manny had been there for 20 some odd years as an assistant. He was there in the heyday, but not splashy enough.
And that's the thing. Manny's not
these schools
stupid.
need to be
Manny's
splashy.
going after his guys.
They need to be splashy is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
No, I get it. I get it.
That's a big miss, man. Deion's the splashiest dude there ever was.
And he wants that job. I think he honestly wants that job. Like, I think for him, that's what he wants. He wants to be that guy. He wants to be Black Nick Saban. Like, I want the dynasty. Like, and it won't be Black Nick Saban anymore. It'll just be prime time. It'll be prime time. Right. Yeah. Look what I did. I didn't taught these players how to swag. And you can't, like, what are you going to say about his record? This guy single-handedly shifted the entire NFC. When he got to Atlanta, they were trash. By the time he left Atlanta, they were contenders.
Yep.
He goes to San Francisco, title. They trade him to Dallas, title. The guy knows how to win.
He does know how to win.
He knows what it takes to win. He's been around those personalities. I mean, this is the same guy that got Jerry Rice to try to have a little bit of fun. And we all know Jerry Rice is the most serious football player there probably ever was. This dude is intense as all get out. There's probably no more intense guy. Man, they try to talk about Tom Brady, but nah, Jerry Rice, like, you ever see Jerry do his like retrospectives on his career? Like, does he rarely ever smile? This dude's like considered the greatest football player of all time.
It's the whole time.
It's all business all the time when he's talking football. When I was running this route, when I was conditioning.
I ain't know because he ended up on Dancing with the Stars. I can't tell.
But that's old Jerry. That's old Jerry.
I mean, I can't front these guys. Vernon Davis is on there, saying, doing this thing, win a Super Bowl, go on Dance with the Stars. Warren Sapp was on Dance with the Stars. You know what I'm saying? Like, you win a Super Bowl, go on Dance with the Stars. Jacoby Jones, they get one every year. I'd go on Dancing with the Stars if I had a Super Bowl. Ain't no shame in my game. I ain't putting out no record. Like, who I need to be hard in the streets for? These guys ain't gonna be hard no more. They Super Bowl champions. They retired. They gotta be go out here and dance and get this money and see if it leads to a television show.
That's right.
For real.
Man, but to bring it back to the whole deal, like I feel like the HBCU deal, like with Deion, it's great for everybody involved. With Bezos, well, I guess whatever her last name actually is, well, her throwing that money to like the HBCUs over in that Washington area, with Deion kind of stepping into the Jackson State and can make them a power because the info I got, and like I'm not gonna go too deep into it because I know we only got a couple minutes, but the main reason why like the HBCU is one of the reasons why some of these schools are privately funded, some of these schools are private schools, some of these schools, like there's not too many of them that are state schools. State schools get a little bit more money. Privately funded schools only get the money that is privately funded. So when you go into a situation and you have, and I think Jackson State is a state school. You got a state school that now has one of the greatest athletes of all time that still has lifetime endorsements with Nike, has an endorsement with Subway, and God knows whoever else.
All right.
There's going to be money thrown at this school. Right? It doesn't take much for some of the, and I don't know all the alumni of Jackson State. I can tell you a couple for FAM. I can tell you some for BCC. But when it comes to Jackson,
I only know Walter Payton, and
yeah, and that's the whole thing.
That's all I got.
So,
yeah, me beat.
You tell me, Walt, if you're a alum of Jackson State, Deion Sanders call you. Hey, big dog, I need. We're trying to build this, and this. I only need blah, 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 and blah, and I'm throwing some of my money in it too. Can I count on you? What you gonna say?
Anything for Deion Sanders. Because what you gonna say? Man, Deion Sanders called me and asked me to be a part of what he's doing there. That's big ups, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's what he's probably doing right now. And he was pissed off that his staff got leaked. He was really upset about that because I think he wanted to do it his way. I think he wanted to get the whole staff and go, look at all these guys. Like, I think to me, it's just a slapping. Everything he's doing is slapping Florida State in the face.
Yeah, by far.
The guys I could have had recruiting players to come here. Way to go.
Do you think that's on his mind, or do you think he's really into what it is he's doing? You think he's got Florida State in the back of his mind?
It's both.
Yeah.
He knows it's a great opportunity for himself. You know what I'm saying? He's always – I'm not saying he's somebody that's championed and been out in the streets. He's not like a LeBron James or anything like that. But I know he's always looked out, you know, for us. But we are talking about Deion Sanders. There's greener pasture, and he's looking for that. He's always – that's his MO. That's who he's described himself to be. So
yeah.
I don't like that, man. I want him to stay. You know, I don't want him to I don't want him to use HBCU as a stepping stone. Although, if he does do that, then that creates a pathway for other.
Exactly.
And I think that's the angle you need to look at it. I don't think it's necessarily.
I would hate to lose a guy like Deion Sanders to Florida State from Jackson State. I would hate that to happen. I would rather he stay and build.
But hold on. Here's what could happen. Because if you lose Deion to Florida State, look at his coaching staff. Who's to say you don't get Warren Sapp? Like, you know what? I'm going to stay. Don't worry about it. You go. I'm going to stay so that they still got a name. Or Ocho Cinco to say, you know what? I know they ain't ready for me on the D1 level. I'm going to stay. Like, because I guarantee you, because, mind you, all three of those guys are Florida legends. Like, these were guys that, like, my older brother played against that, like, I just looked at like these were gods.
Right.
Because they did amazing things on the field, and, like, all you heard was urban legends about the Ocho Cincos and Antonio. Like, I'm older than Antonio Brown, but I played with his brother. Like, you heard urban legends about these guys. Who's to say one of these guys won't stay and make Jackson State now a pipeline for all these guys that Florida State, Florida, University of Miami, UCF are looking over. All these three-star guys at Deerfield Beach, Miami Jackson, Jackson High School in Florida, the Tallahassee schools, all the Tampa schools. One of these Florida guys can stay and say, all right, I'll be there eventually, but I'll stay here to make sure this is in good hands.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't think we can say that he's using it as a stepping stone. I don't think that's fair because Nick Saban didn't stay at Michigan State. You know, Bobby Bowden didn't stay at West Virginia. I mean, at the end of the day,
it's the nature of coaching.
It's just the way it is. I mean, now I understand where you're coming from. One, because I know you. And two, I get exactly what you're trying to portray with this. I do, and I see it, and I respect it, and I can see that, hey, if DeAndre says, hey, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and do this for Jackson State, well, then if he does that, then in my opinion, then people got to step up and do the things that you just talked about in our first segment.
Yep.
So are you counting on Deion Sanders to change the entire mindset of both those divisions?
Now, if he signed a 5-year deal, he need to stay for the whole 5 years. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, he will. I think he will. I think he will.
All right. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
I mean, and that I'm fine with, but I'm telling you right now, the end game is Florida State or the NFL. It is. Because why should it not be? I think for him, if he has a chance to take this program that probably hasn't been very good in the SWAC, I'm pretty sure they're the SWAC, right? That side of it.
I think so, yeah.
They ain't been shit in the SWAC, I think, in years. It's basically either Grambling or it's Southern. Like, that's the way it is. So if he can take them from going there to where they're competing with those guys and winning a conference title, he already proves his point that I can do what I have to do. And then what school is not going to throw? Listen, man, I'm with you. Somebody throws me a Dabble Sweeney deal. What am I going to do?
All right. We'll see. I'm glad he's starting it.
Me too. I think it's dope. I think it's dope that somebody was smart enough to realize within that. And the other person I want to touch on, because I know we're running out of time, that you didn't mention, Chris, in this big swoon to, is Senator Harris is the other person that you have to mention. Like, it's a big opportunity right now, and we can't not mention her with everything she's done.
I'll make sure I bring it up in the beginning of the next one so we can close this thing out.
What you talking about? I don't even understand the segue.
He was just saying, like, the good things that are going for HBCUs right now. And he had mentioned the recruits and Dion, and then you got Kamala Harris running for vice president. So I'm just saying it's a lot of good looks for HBCUs, just to kind of tie that together. I just wanted to shout out Senator Harris, for that, because we've been talking HBCU. But America, we got one more Zoom coming back. We're going to get the anchor fixed, and we're going to bring it home